Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Live Your Dreams podcast. I am so excited to welcome a filmmaker who is inspiring stories all around the world. I'm telling you, I've been so excited for this one. Of course, I'm your host, Joe Gawalis, alongside my fantastic co-host,
Where's Victor?
Chris. Like I was saying, we are so proud to welcome Christina Rose,
Yes.
a German-American filmmaker whose latest project, The Lost Voice, is not just a documentary. It's a rediscovery of legacy, courage, and forgotten history. Her journey takes us deep into the heart of Brazil to uncover the untold story of her great-grand aunt, believed to be the first woman ever to film in the Amazon nearly a century ago. Now, this begins in Rio de Janeiro, and this begins in Rio de Janeiro, and Christina retraces the exact path of that old 90-year expedition. This is so exciting, really. It's rediscovery, it's new discovery, it's family, it's history. I love exactly what Christina is creating. Christina, thank you so much for coming on because your story is truly inspiring.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I really appreciate this.
Oh, no. 100%. And I have to say, Christina, I mean, obviously, what you and your great grand aunt has undertaken to even go into the Amazon like that with your film crew. I got to see the teaser. You guys are in there. You're doing it. That takes a lot of bravery, a lot of heart, a lot of belief in your vision. And it goes to show your family truly loves the arts and wants to be storytellers. Really, really fantastic.
Right. And I really thought it was going to be easier for us, but the truth is it wasn't. I mean, I don't know how the hell they did it back in 1929, 1930 when this took place.
Yeah.
Because obviously the cameras were a lot bigger
Yeah.
and it was film and everything. And certainly the cameras today are smaller, but the ways we had to travel to get where we needed to get, it was literally a journey. And certainly we've all came back with certain scars and injuries and bites and from animals that I don't think we were able to ever identify.
Sure.
Wow.
So, and we were at places where we had to bring our own infrastructure. So I really do not know how they did that, almost 100 years ago. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Imagine the old sound gear, those big wooden tripods that you see, there's
I
massive
know.
pieces of equipment trekking through the Amazon. I'm impressed. I mean, it must have been so, like you said, you have scars, there's animals, there's bites, there's so many things, and you're in really as nature can be. I'd love to hear, especially for the tech people like myself out there, what was your footprint like? Because obviously you're not bringing these big tripods in there. You're hopefully not coming in with too large of cameras. What were you guys kind of traveling with as you entered an environment like this?
Well, so I really was ambitious with this project, and I wanted it to be or have at least the look of being as cinematic as possible.
Sure.
I mean, this
Right.
is meant to be for really movie theater and the big screen. And so we decided to film under Burano, which is not, it's certainly not Venice, but it's not a small camera.
Not an
And it's
FX3,
Yeah.
it's
yeah, I
still
mean, we
it's
did
still
have,
big.
like, our FX3 as our backup, but we
Mhm.
also had an FX6 as our B camera, but
Sure.
the Burano was our A camera, and so we did have our big tripods, and we did have equipment that we had to kind of, take along with us, and we just made it happen. I mean, we were a crew of 8 people,
Oh, wow.
so, we always had to find a way to have, a big enough of a boat, enough horses,
Yeah.
enough plane to get where we needed to get. And so we did have to take a couple journeys back and forth in order to get everybody where we needed to get them, but we managed. So
I love that. Now, did you crew up with people that you've worked with before? Did you meet people down on location? Kind of how was it assembling your team and also convincing everybody that this is not like you're saying let's go shoot on the streets in the nice area and have a nice holding area. You're
sure.
trekking into the jungle. This is an expedition you're going on.
Absolutely. So the person that I brought along is my DP, Daniel McEwen. And I've worked with him before, and I'm very happy that he was willing to take this journey with me because he's a
Yeah.
genius when it comes to cinematography. And everybody else, our second camera operator and also drone operator, he came from Sao Paulo, Daniel Cashel, who was a great person, and he just did everything that we asked him to do. And everybody else was local. We got them from Belém, which is the capital of Pará, the state of kind of the area. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that we could hire everybody local. I didn't want to bring outside crew, especially because they know their environment better. They could
Hmm.
help us along the way as well. Now, I understood some of the things were certainly hard for them too, but we were a great team. I mean, in a way, I felt like we were all misfits that came together and really did something extraordinary. And I'm really fortunate to have had the best team available to me, because these people in the Amazon, it's a very unique place to be and to work at. It's not a film hub in that sense. And
Sure.
so a lot of these people work multiple positions and multiple jobs. And so, for example, the person who was translating for me was also AD, and then we were in a certain situation we needed help with preparing food, and she did everything. And a huge thanks to Bia, who basically never said no, was always happy and always had a smile on her face, and that was really, in essence, the whole crew. Everybody, we all helped each other out, and we needed to have that spirit for the journey that we laid out, basically.
I mean, really, that's incredible. To goes to say your leadership to bring together all those people like that is really incredible. Because, like you said too, I'm sure you're setting up your infrastructure in the jungle. You're not just staying in, 5-star hotels when you're out there. Are there times that you're so deep in that you ever have to camp out when you're there? Are you always returning every night? Because to me, this is, I mean, you guys are really doing it. This is filmmaking to what it's all about. You're in this environment. You're just like man versus nature. I love it all. I mean, how was that experience? Even staying, sleeping, those logistics must have been so interesting.
Sure, absolutely. So I have to kind of separate two locations that we mostly filmed at. One is Belém, which again I mentioned is the capital.
Hmm.
Now that's a huge city. It's two
Sure.
million people that live there, and you have to imagine, yes, it is in the Amazon, but we did have the comfort of AC, a hotel, good food, and everything. So definitely that was good. When we went to Marajon, which is a 4-hour ferry ride up north, and it's like about 50 kilometers away from the equator. It's an island and it's a very unique location. Why is it unique? First of all, it is an island. It kind of is at the edge of where a river meets the ocean. So it has its challenges even to get to some of these places. It
Sure.
still has dangers. I mean, there are people who didn't want to be part of this because they knew of how dangerous that trip is and can be. And Marajo, in a sense, as I learned, there are two seasons in the Amazon. It's the wet season and the dry season. And so when we first went there, we went at the beginning of the dry season, but the problem is that a lot of the island is still underwater, and you have to imagine the island kind of like a bowl. So during the rain season, it just rains, it pours down, and all of these faciendas, these farms, are basically just underwater in that sense. And it takes the whole dry season to get everything growing again, to get the water as low as possible. And so it's the reason why we had to go back there again a second time. And but still, it there was still a lot of water. I mean, certainly probably because of climate change, but it's just a very, very unique place. And the thing is, and this is just based on myths, so just some historical facts that I learned. Basically, during the colonial times, either a Spanish or a Portuguese ship that came over, it basically sunk just before this area of Marajo. Again, this is a myth, but they believe that the buffaloes that were on that ship rescued themselves on this island,
Oh,
and basically they took over this whole land. So it's not really as you imagine in the sense of jungle and trees. There are that areas, but there are areas where you can see where it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere and you can see the horizon,
oh wow.
and it just sheer beauty. I mean, I've been to Wyoming, um, but it's just something else. I mean, it's just so amazing and so beautiful. It's indescribable.
It's interesting you said it because that's what I was picturing in my mind. Kind of those Wyoming landscapes and just vast like that, where you can see for what seems like forever, and that's beautiful because most people, I would not have known that. When I'm thinking of the Amazon down there and in that area, I'm thinking of this vast jungle where you probably can see nothing
Sure.
around you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I too. I
But
was
I think
thinking
it's
that
good.
I'm sorry. I was thinking also like this, guerrilla filmmaking type of thing. Did you see any guerrillas? Was it an actual jungle? My question to you actually is, compared to your great great aunt's trip and her journey back then, and your journey with your crew, were there any casualties or anything that was kind of, I mean, it seems like very dangerous of a journey. Was there anything that bad happened? Were there any comparisons, like stories between your family, between your aunt's stories and her journey and yours?
So yeah, so the hard part, and I think I might be giving a little bit away, but I don't think it's going to destroy the viewing of this story. So basically, one of the reasons why my great grand aunt potentially is the first woman, and because she finished the film that her husband set out to do. You have to understand that part of this film expedition, and just to take it back a few steps, 5 people were part of this film expedition. Was her husband, August, she, and then another couple who he was a author, and his wife Ruth came along, as well as Edgar Eichhorn, who kind of served as the DP.
Mm.
Now, from those 5 people, 4 came back, and it
Oh, boy.
was her husband who actually died during the filmmaking.
Wow.
And so we knew that this isn't without risk.
Oh,
And
sure.
so he in his diaries, he wrote of a lot of the challenges and certain things that had happened to him. I mean, in the areas that we were, there are crocodiles, snakes, tarantulas. I mean, all of that, but honestly, I was most afraid of the mosquito bites, because you just don't know what bites you,
For
and
sure.
there's no way of getting around it. So for us, luckily, nothing seriously happened. Did we have I mean, I know Daniel, our second camera operator and drone operator, he had bites on his legs that for which he had to go to the hospital. I had the same ones as well. Daniel, my DP, as well. We certainly suffered. We still don't know what it is that bit us or attacked us. So even the people at the hospital didn't know. So
All right.
but we survived. I still have those markings, and sometimes it still itches 2 months, 3 months
Wow.
afterwards. So I don't even want to know.
I mean,
That's amazing.
I just gotta say that's amazing. Thank you so much for taking this journey and eventually showing out with regard to your uncle, your great great uncle, what he had gone through to tell this story. It's beautiful that people will risk anything to tell a story for us viewers.
Yeah,
That
yeah, for
thank you.
sure.
You're absolutely right, Chris. I mean, really, it's such an inspiring journey to go in there. How was it too? I mean, the first time you go in there, you heard the stories about your great grand aunt, obviously what happened to her husband. That's a huge undertaking. Now, you probably had to build this up, get your team ready. Was it a lot different from what was in your mind? I'm sure there's a lot of mental preparation walking into the Amazon. When you actually had to first do it, that first step in, and you said, okay, this is no longer a theory. This is not pre-production. Here I am. Was there ever that, should I turn back, or was it always I'm going forward? Where's that moment of like, okay, here we go. It's getting real now.
No, no, I was really determined. One, I'm on a mission, right? I mean, for me, one of the key facts and most important aspects is really trying to find the proof that she did do what she says she did. I mean,
Yes.
again, just taking it to the people that were part of this expeditions, from the 4 that came back to Germany, 3 of them wrote a book. And those 3 all have conflicting stories that they're sharing. And all 3 of them are kind of claiming that they're the ones that led the expedition and finished this movie. And so a lot of this whole research and this story in this documentary is finding out who's saying the truth and who's lying to us. And now, obviously, I'll admit I'm subjective. I want my great grandaunt to be the one who's speaking the truth, and I did find that there are certain lies in these other 2 books that the authors write. But the thing is, if they're lying, then certainly I have to question my great grandaunt too. And so, um, for me, it was going into that place as hard as it was going to be. I just was on a mission, and that for me, that mission was finding out if she did finish this film, if the stories that she writes in her book are truth, or fiction, and if indeed I can find that proof, it would make her the first woman to have ever filmed in the Amazon, and that's a big deal. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, I think especially during those times, and not just for German cinema history, but I think for film history, for female filmmakers, I think that's I don't see a Wikipedia entry in terms of who that first woman is. So that's why I knew that whatever challenge that I was going to face, to come back to your question, Joe, is I knew that nothing could stop me and that I needed to find every inch of strength in me. But I mean, I also felt like I had something going on. Either she was looking down upon me. I know that sounds so weird, but I just felt like I was going to be okay. As dangerous as this is going to be, I just felt like it's going to be okay. And sometimes it was good not to think about what could have happened. I think I can think about that now, but you have to go into this like a child, you know? You just
Yeah.
don't think about falling off that skateboard or that, the skis or the bike. You just do it knowing that you can.
I love
Right.
where your heart is. It's amazing, and that's the beauty of filmmaking, the beauty of storytelling, the beauty of determination. And yours goes beyond that by really not only having your aunt become your great granddad become this legendary person in cinema and creating art, but women and filmmakers all around the world. I mean, truly, you are on a mission that's so driven. It's fantastic. Now, at the beginning, as you were growing up, I'm sure you heard stories about this great journey that your great granddad went on. When was it that you said to yourself, I need to start undertaking this journey? I love to hear like the first time you thought to yourself, should I actually,
Sure.
I want to create this documentary.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I knew of this book, and I had always kind of grown up thinking that she was just the wife of August Brückner, the filmmaker. And so I always thought that he was the filmmaker and she just accompanied him on this journey. And a lot has to do with the fact that this book is written in an old German font that I cannot read, or it's very hard for me to read. So I've kind of always pushed it off. And it was actually during the pandemic, 2020, you have time to kill. And my mom started reading the chapters to me because she can read this language.
Sure.
And so I was just like, wait, hold on. She wasn't just part of this journey. She actually filmed and was a filmmaker too. And so at the time I was in the middle of another project, trying to finish that up. But I kind of said, there's something there that I
Mm.
have to revisit. And then a couple of years later, a friend of my mom's, she said, you know what, Christina, I will transcribe this book for you. And so during rainy days and the cold days, she basically transcribed a 270-page book for
Oh,
me
wow.
that I could read in our normal font. And so I just started reading it and reading it thousands of times. And I said, okay, I finished my project and this is it. I need to start researching this. There's a story there to tell. And then I was lucky enough to come across a couple of people who were experts in that field.
Mm.
There was another person crazy enough that I found who lives just outside of Rio, who is an anthropologist who has been researching Paula, my great grand aunt, 2 years prior to
Oh,
me, and
wow.
I'm just like, how like I understand why I'm interested, but why should anybody else be interested? And so I was able in a very, very quick time to really understand the complexity of this whole story and this issue, and basically unlock some of the questions that remain unanswered.
I do have a question, and feel free not to answer because I don't want to give away the story. As filmmakers ourselves, we believe in not giving away the story. But on this expedition, I believe I read something. There were the archaeologists with you as well. What was her findings, if you can disclose at this point? What was she looking for? What were they looking for?
You mean in terms of what the mission of their expedition was?
Yes.
Well, so they basically set out to do a film. I
Okay.
know there are some bases where they thought it was like a scientific expedition, but it was more of a film expedition. That was their
Okay.
whole journey. And during that time in Germany, they called it cultural films.
Okay.
To me, it's nothing else like a documentary film. And I think the whole point was being able to do these educational films of a foreign world that was not known to a German audience. And
Mm.
so our belief is that they wanted to do two movies. One is in your typical nature, wildlife of the Amazon.
Okay.
And then the second one was more about the indigenous people. And so there could be suspicion that that second indigenous film was supposed to be a fictional film because the thing is, August, 2 years prior to this trip, he was in Africa and he did a movie with the indigenous people there, but they weren't actors, but he basically worked with an indigenous group of people and basically had said them, hey, run from this side to that side.
Oh,
And
wow.
he
Oh,
with them
yeah.
created this story. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to think about it, but just with all these people that weren't actors, he was able to create this fictional story. So there is suspicion that that might have been that second film that they wanted to do, because we know from diaries of the anthropologists that traveled with them to find these indigenous people that he writes about that journey. And so, but that's the film that they ended up not finishing because that's where he got really, really sick and they had to come back to Belém. And that's where he ended up dying.
It's
So
it's somebody who really truly sacrificed everything for his craft and his art, and in its own way, that's it's very sad but very beautiful in its own way, right? I mean, as artists, you love your craft.
Absolutely, and I get it. And even in the diary entries that we were able to find or that she also mentions in the book, I mean, he basically goes on and on, even though he knows he's feeling sick, and he just continues fighting. And when we read some of his diary entries too, you can see this truly he passionate filmmaker who would do anything and everything in order to get that great shot. I mean, there are even pictures. This sounds crazy, but they were trying to do underwater shots of
Oh, wow.
Ambitious, yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
so they built this aquarium, and I mean, I don't know how, but he basically was inside of this aquarium to
Wow.
film underwater
Oh, wow.
shots. And like when I was watching the film that they had done the first time, I'm like, how the hell did they
How?
do
Yeah,
this?
no,
You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hey,
had
we
to be,
just
yeah.
stick a camera lens into the water and it's fine. But at that time, and so from pictures, they basically built an aquarium. That's how they did it. It's crazy. But
That's
he
wild.
went at full length to do anything and everything to get that shot.
No, that is so beautiful. And talking about being innovative as a creative, as a filmmaker, that's what you have to do. I'd love to hear about your journey because you mentioned them. They were there to kind of tell two different stories potentially. One of them had to do about the culture. How was it getting this project moving for yourself? Did you guys have government grants to help you because you were there trying to tell this story? Were you working with the Brazilian government at the same time, or was this an independent venture where you said, I'm doing this, or do you have other producers with you? I'd love to hear about like how, because you have a great idea that's going to change so many viewpoints in the world, and it could really change women in film for forever. This story here is so fascinating. How was it really spearheading that and saying this is a journey worth investing in and believing in? How was it getting that off the ground? Because that's always a very difficult journey to do.
Yeah, and that's always the hardest,
That's the
right?
hardest.
Because
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you're the most passionate about your own project and your own story, and then you're trying to convince somebody else to give you the money. So for me at the beginning, it was very clear. I thought, this is a German story. This is
Mhm.
it because my great grandaunt she's from Germany and she lived and died in Berlin. And so I was just like, this is German film history, German history. I mean, so I basically went to all of the biggest broadcasters in Germany
Sure.
and asked them for support. So I got rejected 3 times through. So one said they don't have the right programming place, and they wanted to do this for TV, and I always wanted to do this for the movie
Sure.
theater. But sometimes you have to be flexible, right? But then they also said, no, I should get a more experienced producer. So I'm just like, okay, well, no, I'm not going to do that because nobody can tell this story better than I
Sure.
can.
Sure.
The other big broadcaster basically said that they have another project, another documentary from South America that they're already doing. And so I'm just like, well, that's kind of sad to hear that Germany only gets to see one story from
Oh,
South
one story.
America
Yes,
when there
yes.
should be multiple. So it just, but what should I say? Rejections keeps wanting me to do it despite of that, because I said, screw you, because
Yeah.
I know this is the story that needs to be told, and I'll just do it myself. And honestly, at the end of this, I have to say that even though I didn't get any financial support, but what surprised me most is the support that I got from the people in Belém that I
That's
met
great.
in Amazon, and professors like Geraldo and Fernando, as well as Diego, who's the park ranger from Utinga. They've given me so much of their time and passion to trace some of these places that Paula went to and that we were able to find. And it shocked me to the core of how much of interest and care and love they had for me and for this project. And anything that I needed while we were there, they did. And I just, just didn't think. I was just like, this is a German filmmaker back in 1929. Why would it interest you?
Mm.
But one of the researchers who was part of this whole project too, she's from Sao Paulo, Claudia, she kind of explained it to me and said that in that area, they don't have any resources to uncover their own history. And
Oh, wow.
the fact that I've come here and they have uncovered something that they didn't know existed for themselves makes them very, very proud to find this information. And so they have gone to great length to help me and to really, I mean, just to give you an example, she mentions in the book these railroad tracks that she takes this crazy journey on because she just wanted to rest, and then she sits down into this small little uh cabin kind of, and sure enough it starts moving, and this whole trek that she took for 2 hours, she travels down this these railroads holding on, not knowing if she's gonna survive or not. And
Sure.
so, I just went there and had a simple question: "Hey, are these railroad tracks still there in the place that she said that they are?" And when Diego, the park ranger from Utinga Park, said, "I've never heard of these, but if they are there, then my team or we will find them."
Find them.
And months passed, and sure enough, they found them. And that has been just amazing journey because not only did they find them, but they found multiple tracks. They found some that are submerged underwater. It has become its own project for Geraldo and Fernando, the professors from the University of Pará, to verify these, to understand the purpose of these tracks. And it's what's the nicest thing beyond this documentary, it has a life of its own, and they are getting attention in Belém for their discovery. And so, I mean, it all started with just a simple question of, do these train tracks exist? And how should they have known? And nobody there
Yeah,
knew about it, and it just because my great grand aunt writes this story,
Mm.
and that
that's
basically
awesome.
is the birth of this whole research project that is happening outside of this documentary. And I mean, that's the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
You
That's awesome.
you created something so extraordinary. It just goes beyond just all different walks of life, beyond just filmmaking. Now, I think that's incredible. It isn't that what a great filmmaker and a storyteller is supposed to do. You are now truly not just impacting people through the world of your film and cinema. You're doing that all over. You may change the entire culture down there. They may discover things they never even knew existed. I think that's phenomenal that you are undertaking this. And you said, I don't care if I have a rejection. I'm doing it myself. I believe in it. I believe in the story. I'm going to do it. That says so much about you. Really, it's so impressive.
Yeah, and to me, honestly, what we've been able to discover and what these people have done there is, to me, proof enough that this was truly worth every single penny, and that this needed to be uncovered. And so, obviously, I still want the documentary to have its own success, and I want a lot of people to be able to see it, certainly. But certainly I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to uncover and that I can have a small part of this. I can't put it in the right words of the gratitude that I have for these people that have helped me, and it saddens me that the Germans didn't show that same interest, but it just proves the fact that there was something there that needed to be uncovered, and we're just, I think, at the beginning of really uncovering something extraordinary. So I think there's a lot more work ahead of us. I know that. I'm still in contact with all of them. And that's very special, and I'll never forget that whole journey that we've been having and still have.
So well said, Christina. Really incredible. I love the fact that you're so humble, yet you have your goals focused is really fantastic. You can see the leadership there. Now, before we do have to get going, you started mentioning you have a lot more work to do, but the documentary is finishing up. I'd love to hear what you think is next on the horizon for the completed project or any goals or objectives you may have for the finished documentary.
So the nice thing is that we have a little bit of attention already tracking, and so I'll be presenting a work in progress in Berlin during a film series about female filmmakers of the Weimar Republic. And since my great grand is from that era, we'll be able to show some things that we've been doing and also share some of the research that we've been doing because again, it has grown so much beyond the documentary itself. So that's very nice, and it'll be interesting to be in Berlin. I mean, I love that city, and it'll be nice to come around and actually see Germans getting interested in this too. And so, yeah, and then obviously finishing the film. We're deep in post-production, and
Nice.
I know that's going to be a process. I have some good days, to be very honest, when I see the story coming together and I'm really happy about it. And then some days where I'm doubting myself, where I'm just like, oh, is this emotional enough? Is this going to work? But I've learned, just to quote Darren Aronofsky, he said, "If you don't have doubt, you don't have any wisdom." And so I try to
Hmm.
remind myself by that because doubt makes us work harder, and so I think that's something right now that's keeping me strong and pushing me forward because I think if I doubt myself, that means I need to figure out how can I be better and how can I do this better? Because at the end of the day, I want this to be the best that it can be, and I think that's a good thing to say.
I do have one more question, if you don't mind. How many days will it shoot? 'Cause I know you said you had to come back, as well as approximate hours of footage that you captured.
So we still have 3 more shooting days ahead. So and that will be then in total 46 shooting days that we had.
Wow. Okay.
Gina, really just incredibly impressive, I have to say. Everything you're doing from start to finish is just inspiring. It really is. I know that our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. Now, before we have to get going, I can't believe we've already been on for 40 minutes. This has been
Oh,
incredible.
wow.
I told you had a lot to say. This is great. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really doing fantastic here. Are there any way our listeners can learn more about you or the film? Are there any social media sites that they can look at or websites where people can research more?
Sure, absolutely. So on Instagram, we have at the Lost Voice film. Um, that I think is also linked with our Facebook. But we also you can also find me at mirrorwaterentertainment.com, our website, where we consistently update kind of our small community. So you'll find us there, and you can join us along on our journey.
Now, Christina, this has been really, truly incredible getting to talk to you. Now, before we have to get going, I know that our fans are going to want to learn more about you, about the film. Are there any places on social media, websites where people can learn more, not only about you, but the Lost Voice as well?
Absolutely. So we do have an Instagram page, The Lost Voice Film, as well as a website that you can find us at. My company is also called mirrorwaterentertainment.com, where you can regularly find updates on where we're at in the whole process, and then, of course, when the film will come out. So hopefully you can join our journey as we power through these next couple of months and share some sneak peeks, and as well as a trailer, hopefully soon.
Well, I know that the Live Your
great.
Dreams podcast truly supports you. We'll make sure to have links in the descriptions in all of our episodes on either Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible. Of course, you can see us online on YouTube, Red Coral, Roku TV, and Fostum TV. We'll make sure to have links in all of the descriptions below because truly what you're doing is fantastic. And when the documentary is finished, you need to come back on because I'd love to talk more about it because really, it's truly fascinating. It's been great really getting to talk to you.
It would be my pleasure and honor. And Joe, Chris, thank you so very much for taking the time, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that so much.
Christina, thank you so much. Christina Rose for the Live Your Dreams podcast. I'm Joe Gawalis.
Where's Victor?
We are the dreamers, and the dreams make the world go round. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you all so very much.